Welcome to Through the Trauma podcast. My name is Amber Larkins, published photographer, storytelling expert, visual artist, entrepreneur, speaker, and coach. This podcast was born from one question: how do I get inspiring stories of triumph out to the people who need to hear them the most? Come with me, enter my world, where lives are getting changed, heroes are getting developed, and greatness is being achieved. Here we are. So tell us a little bit. I know this is kind of how I had emailed you, and or I had sent out a mass email about stories, and you had said that you had a story to tell, which I knew a little bit of your story, but I didn't know the extent of it. And so we talked a little bit about your story. I'm sure there's even parts I still don't know, but I'm pretty anxious to get into it.
It would take us 3 days to probably go through my whole story. It's a big one.
Well, why don't you start by just kind of telling us about the trauma that you've kind of endured, what that looks like, and we'll go from there.
I met him in 1991, I think, 1990. I met him in 1990, married him in 1991. And it was fine at the beginning, about a month, but within 2 months of then, it was physical abuse, bad, and mental abuse, really bad. So, but when I met him, I wasn't in really a good place. So he had his own apartment, great car, great job, and all that stuff. So I wasn't really in the right mindset. So I looked at him like, oh, wow, I don't think I can do anything better. And at the time, I didn't really have a lot of self-esteem and anything like that. So the abuse started pretty early. It started pretty in the relationship. We got married in 91. No, it was 92. It's been a while. And then it just proceeded on from there. It just keep going. It didn't stop for like 8 years.
Was this like mental, emotional abuse?
More mental and more, it was a lot of mental, always mental and physical abuse. A lot of physical abuse.
So there's both. Both mental, emotional, and physical.
Oh, yeah, both. And the mental abuse was just so, I don't know, it was like a mind game to him. He liked to, he goes, well, he would get me to thinking that I was looking at men or looking at men's crotches. And I'm like, I don't, you think in your mind, did I do that? Did I do that? And so he would get so upset with me. Like, he hated me looking at any men. And that's where the mental abuse started from that point. And then just other things. It just snowballed from there. So there's times, I'd have to look down. He didn't want me looking up or looking at men. And when we got married, it got worse. The physical abuse got worse. The mental abuse got worse. There's just so much in detail of his abuse. He's very intelligent. He's an aerospace engineer. So he's highly intelligent. So, and he came from a Christian background. So it was all surrounded about the Bible. I became a Christian when I gave my life to him. When I met him, I gave my heart to the Lord. And it just like, I don't know, if I didn't do something he wanted me to do, like I didn't get rid of my old clothes, clothes that weren't appropriate back, for him. So he would like, why didn't you get rid of them? Or he'd pull the back of my hair like that. And like, why didn't you get rid of them? And this and that. And like, just not little things, but big things like that, or hit me. I remember one time we were in the apartment. I don't know what started it, but he beat me up so bad I could barely walk the next day. I had to run out of the house. The cops were called. They picked me up on the street and they took me to the police station, checked me over. And the next day, I ended up being a cook at a daycare. And he came in and said he was sorry. It was close to my birthday and gave him my birthday cake and all this stuff. And I could barely walk. I mean, it was like I felt I was like in the gym for a week. He beat me up pretty bad. So it was just continuous like that.
How long did this go on?
We were married 18. We were together 18 years, married 17 years, and the whole time we were married. The whole time. The abuse.
Wow, that is a long time.
Yeah, the physical.
That's
abuse,
a really long time to endure that.
It was a long endure, and then he isolated me, so I had no friends. I had my family were gone. His family was gone. So all I'm getting is him saying things to me. I'm not getting any other input. So, but it lasted physical was about 8 to 10 years. And then he figured, well, it ain't, physical, it heals. It goes, but the mental abuse is where he really liked to use that on me a lot. Then once the physical went away and the mental abuse was so unbelievable. I don't even know how he thought of these things. It was just unbelievable, some of the things he would do. I had to lock myself in the room if men came over. No pictures were allowed to be out and about when the men came over of me. No pictures of magazines. Like if something came in the house, like you had cookies and it had a picture of a man on it, he would rip it apart. Or magazines with guys' name, pictures on it. Anything with a guy on it or a name of a guy, I wasn't allowed to see. Like I had to watch cartoons the whole time I was married to him. And I wasn't allowed to watch the credits coming down on the screen because there might be men's names in it. So it was very controlling. Wasn't allowed to lose weight. Wasn't allowed to go out. I think the whole time we were married, he gave me $20. And I didn't have no access to any accounts. I mean, there's times I'd be in the house for 4 or 5 months at a time. I wasn't allowed to leave. He bought all my clothes. He cut my hair. He dyed my hair. He done everything. Picked all my clothes out. Did my hair for me. Just controlled me down to every little aspect of my life.
So at what point did you realize this is not good? Because I know sometimes when people are in these abusive situations, very narcissistic.
Oh yeah,
very narcissistic.
Yes.
Your mind gets confused as to what's clear and what's right and what's wrong.
Yep.
At what point did you come to that conclusion?
His parents came to the point. I mean, I thought if I didn't have no way to leave, and I have a special needs kid, so that was hard. Plus 2 other ones. Never worked, had no money, so I had no access to no money, no checking accounts, no savings, no nothing. So he's got me trapped out in 6 acres, out in the middle of nowhere, and so just one day we were at his mom and dad's house, and it was something a name set him off. His dad said, Maya's chucking down these M&Ms. So he said a name Chuck. So he didn't like that. So when we got home, I knew he was pissed. And he said, I knew you heard that name. So his mom's trying to call me the whole entire time after I got home because they knew he was upset. So I didn't answer the phone. I just stayed quiet in the room with Maya, laying in the bed with her. So the next morning, she calls me and he's at work and she goes, what is going on? They knew stuff was going on, but they didn't know how in depth it was. So she says, I'm getting you out of there now, today. You're leaving today. So there's so much. I mean, I could sit here for 4 or 5 days and tell you every little detail of everything he done. It's just so, when I tell my story, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe it's just so in depth. they got me out. They got me out. We're coming to get you today. Get yourself ready. So they got me ready. They came over about 3 to get me. They put me up in a hotel, and Diane came and got me. And she didn't tell anybody else where I was at. And my mom and dad didn't know I left because I hadn't seen my mom and dad for like 2.5 years. So the type of people like that, they like to isolate you, and they don't want nothing else telling you anything different than what they're telling you. So I finally left, and he was hunting for me. His brother, everybody knew I'd left, but Terry went with him to try to hunt me down, but they didn't find me, obviously. So they put me in a hotel for 4 days. Finally called my mom and dad, and my mom was screaming because she hadn't heard from me in a while. And it was her birthday. I left him July 18th. Her birthday was July 14th. Her wish on her birthday was I'd get to talk to her, that I would call her. And 4 days later, I called her. The mental abuse was so bad that to where the point where I couldn't physically take care of Noah because he didn't like me talking to anything that had to do with me.
And that's your special needs son.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it got to the point where I went to like Lisha's choir concert. I wasn't allowed to look at the choir. I had to look down all the time. But then when I would look down, then he accused me of looking at crotches. So I couldn't, trying to be in a crowded room and not see men is really difficult. It's impossible. Yes. And then when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, looking down, then he's accusing you of doing something else. So
it's like he's not happy. He's trying to find something to pick at you about or to take his frustrations out. Yeah. And I think this is part of that disease, is narcissism, where it's like they pick at you.
Oh, yeah.
For doing wrong.
No matter what you try, you could be I was a great wife. Did things for him, and I one day I cut the grass for him in the backyard so he didn't have to do it. And I thought it'd be a nice thing to do. And all he could say is, "What did you do wrong today?" Yeah, like, I'm doing something nice for you, and you're making it turn out like I've done something horrible, thinking I'd done something wrong, so I'm going to make up for it to cut the grass.
There's something that way that they abuse you and they play with your head. I know you mentioned earlier, it's almost like gaslighting to the point where they want to get you in this place of being alone. Yeah. Like it's just you and you have no outside interaction.
Nope.
And you start to think it's right or something's wrong with you. Like I'm the one going crazy. I'm the one that with the flaw or the defect. And it's not that way. It's such a shame that women and men go through this too on the other side. Talk to us a little bit about that journey after you left him. Like, what was that journey like of getting to a healthy place?
It took me a long time to get a healthy place. I didn't think I've never been on my own, support myself. Well, I lived off my child support and alimony. It couldn't work. I tried to work. It was just impossible. And I was just so mentally, I don't know. It was just being isolated that so long, and then you try to get out and about. It kind of like, fearful, I guess you would say. You're not comfortable out and about. I mean, I hadn't been to Walmart or anything for like 8 years. I hadn't been anywhere. So, this is how long I've been out. Before I went to pump gas, and I was pumping diesel in my car. I didn't know at the time when I was pumping gas, diesels were away from the pumps. So when I went and got pumped gas, my mom's like, "You're trying to put diesel in your car," because the diesel was with the regular pumps now. So that's how long I didn't know nothing. I mean, I didn't know I was pumping diesel. I mean, it didn't work. I said, "Mom, it's not fitting in the hole." It's not fitting in the hole. She goes, "That's a diesel handle." I didn't know because I've never pumped gas since I was married to him. He it did everything. So it was just a long time. My church really helped. They really protected me, really gave me a lot of counseling, went through regular therapy after I left him with my daughters, with my oldest daughter, because she saw a lot. And it took me about 4 years through therapy, I think, and now I'm still in therapy till this day. I mean, I started back up. But it was a very scary journey after leaving him.
I have heard that, I was listening to something recently that was talking about that type of abuse in the home it's different than regular trauma. All trauma is different, but being subjected to this day in and day out, and you, in your case, for 18 years.
It's brainwashed, and when people have been captive by a kidnapper and then they become so they can't leave. So I was so dependent on him for everything. I mean, everything. I mean, it was. I had to be deprogrammed, and I think I still have to be deprogrammed because you've been in it so long, it becomes a part of you, and you don't realize some of the things you're doing. It's part of your makeup now. I mean, if I would have only been in it for 6 months, it'd probably been easier. But 18 years of, of all that abuse and mental and physical abuse. The physical is that you can get over pretty easy, but the mental abuse, it messes with your head, and you got to be deprogrammed from all that. And it took me a long time, and he used the scripture a lot. So the church came and really helped me with that part of it, but he just had so many weird tendencies of things he thought, like couldn't ride male animals. We had male animals. I wasn't allowed to ride the male horse. And we had a male dog, and we had a female dog and a male dog that someone gave us. And he's always saying, he likes to project what he's thinking onto you. So he would say, "What is it with you and that dog?" I'm like, "I'm just doing the typical things you do with a dog. You feed him, water it." I was getting to the point it was driving me crazy, and I had to ask my daughter, "You're going to have to take care of the dog. I can't take it no more." I'm about to go crazy, with all the things he was doing to me and all the things he was saying to me and all the mind games he played. Am I crazy? Because this is the only endpoint I'm getting from him is him, this constantly. It's like brainwashing. It is. It's and Stockholm syndromes. I think it's a lot of that too, because I'm stuck, and you don't know anything different than just what he's telling you and what he's doing. So he tried to kill me once, tried to make it look like an accident. He used my son to do it. That was, I think, the worst thing he ever done. He left. He took Maya to the grocery store, and I thought he'd take Noah. We were going to take her shopping. And then Elisha wasn't there to take care of the horses. So I said, "I need to go out and feed the horses. Elisha's not here." He goes, "You can't do that." He was adamant I shouldn't go out there. So I said, "It's only going to take me a few minutes, just in the back of the barn." So I got done, came back, and he is barreling down the driveway. And he gets out of the car, and I'm like, "What are you doing here? You just left." He goes, so we go in the house, and I smell this funny smell, and I know what it is. It's gunpowder. Before he left, he took the gun out of the pouch and took the lock off of it, showed Noah, laid it in my closet on my side. Noah found it. He probably showed him. I didn't know he even took it out because I didn't go in my room. So the gun was laying there, and Noah picked it up and shot it. Because
Not himself. He didn't hurt himself.
On his leg. He burnt his leg. But that's, and now that I look at it, and a cop told me the same thing, he goes, what he was trying to do, he was trying to use your son Noah to shoot you accidentally, and I'd be gone, and then Noah would probably be in a home. So to use a son that's severely autistic, he was only like 6 years old, 7 years old, to show him because the gun was always on the top shelf, and we had a double hanging closet, and my shelf was down here. So Noah could reach it. To lay that gun there, unlock it, and load it. Then show your son that's severely autistic to shoot that gun. He shot it through the closet, into the bathroom, through the bathroom door, and it hit the shower surround and exploded into a million pieces. That's why he didn't want me going to the barn. So he would accidentally shoot me, and I'd be gone, and Noah would probably be in a home. So that's how evil, and I don't know, he's just on a whole nother level of being just, it means not even a word for it. It's just diabolical and evil, and it's just bad.
So someone like you who's been through that kind of trauma again and again, and I mean, I can't even fathom that kind of trauma. And especially, it's hard enough raising a child that with a disability that's autistic, and then trying to make your husband feel like, like you love him or whatever. And when he's abusive, it's like, you probably will need therapy the rest of your life, because that, someone that you were supposed to feel safe and secure with has abused you to the point of where there was no safety whatsoever.
None. Yeah. There was.
So do you ever have women open up to you about I know, looking at you, you would not know you had this story. I know, like, you can't really see on here, but you're in phenomenal shape. I mean, you can tell from your shoulders and stuff that you're in phenomenal shape. You've done very well in the competitive world. And you look amazing.
Thank you.
And now you own multiple businesses. How, like, that kind of transformation, does that happen through counseling, or was it a mindset that you adopted, or at what point did you make that choice?
I know right after I left him, I weighed about 180 pounds. I wasn't allowed to lose weight. He controlled everything down to what I ate. I got a trainer, hired a trainer after I left him, got down to 140. I always wanted to compete. I've always wanted to do that. And, but I've hired a trainer. I competed in 2009, my first competition. I did figure because physique wasn't out yet. And it took me 2 months to get ready. I was down to like 113, probably 112. I was tiny then. So, but I don't know. I just felt that I needed that confidence boost. I've always been athletic since I was 4 years old. I was a gymnast, national level competitive gymnastics, swimming, and diving till I was in high school. So I've always had it and always wanted to do it, just not, couldn't at the time. He would never let me do any of that stuff. There was no way. But when I competed, I think it's people, I needed that because he always told me, you're ugly, you're dirty, you won't amount to nothing. No one's ever going to want you, just as bad as you can get it, saying stuff to you. So I needed that confidence boost. And I think for maybe being athletic and everything, that gave me that confidence. And I love being on stage. I love being in front of the camera. I love being on stage. It's just something that's in me. I've been in it since I was 4 years old. Gymnastics is like a stage. You're competing. So, and I've always been an outgoing person, always. But after I left him, I just needed that. I needed therapy, obviously, but that out into that world of bodybuilding and getting into shape. You don't feel good about yourself when you weigh 180 pounds. You don't feel attractive. You just don't feel good about yourself. So I thought that would it boosted me a lot. When I got on stage, I didn't win. That was a little disappointing. That was my first show. But just keep going and keep going and keep going. And just, I've never been a quitter. I just knew that, I had to, do something with my life, after I left him. I didn't have to work, but ended up, meeting someone else after that in 2010, Scott. And that didn't work out, and I moved here. But then I had to figure out, what am I going to do? I've got to work. So I was just at the gym one day, and my friend next to me, she goes, I had to fire my housekeeper. I can't, do you know anybody? I'm like, me. So it happened at the gym. So she was my first client, and I just started building and building and building. And now I've got several clients now, and the place where I live now, this is why I picked this place, because when I came in and looked at it, she said, what do you do for a living? I said, I have my own commercial and residential cleaning business. She goes, oh my God, we need somebody. So I clean the apartments where I live. So it's just progressed. And now they're moving on stage, another stage back behind us. They're building 250 new townhouses, actually. They're with garages. And I've got an opportunity to clean those once they're done built. And then you go out and clean it, and then people move in. So that's just more opportunity after opportunity. And my baking, I do that a little bit on the side, but this is my main business now, the cleaning business. The baking is just...
The baking is amazing. I've had your sweets, and I've worked the Nashville, seen the girls go crazy over the cupcakes and things. So you've done amazing. I mean, you should be really, really proud of yourself. If you had to give, I know, like, when you reached out to me originally, you messaged me back after I sent out that mass email, and you said, I believe my story can help somebody.
Oh God,
yeah. If you had to give someone advice on if they're in the middle of a situation like that, and or if they're even getting over a situation like that?
Run as fast as you can. Get your family involved. Do not stay in that situation. I mean, do not do it, but do it a safe way. You got to do it a safe way. You just, you got to keep yourself safe, but you can't make someone do it. They have to want to do it, because then they're just going to go back. They have to say, hey, I've had enough. I'm done. You've got to, don't let it linger on like I did for years. Don't. Get your family involved. Talk to someone. Don't hide things. Don't hide bruises. Don't hide marks on your body. Get out. Get therapy. Get your family. Don't stay in that situation. I know it's easy for me to say that. I know everybody says, well, why didn't you just leave? Well, you got to leave when you're ready. I can't make you leave, because then it's like trying to make someone stop smoking. You have to want it, but you you have to do it. You have to get away. I don't care how you do it, but do it in a safe way, because it can be dangerous. You just don't. That's why they came and got me before he got home, because I know if he got home and I was trying to leave, there's just no way.
Yeah, and there's a confusion, I think, too. Mm-hmm. Like, I think sometimes people don't know. They think it's not right. It's not accurate, and it's not right for them to be treated that way. But then they're being gaslit, so they don't really know.
No.
And they're like, I'm not really sure. It may be me. He's telling me it's me, and I'm the one that's jealous, or I'm the one that's... Because they do. What you said is so correct. Project.
It is. And I always thought it was me. Why, if I wouldn't have been the life I lived before I met him, or I wouldn't have said this, or I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have acted this way, I wouldn't have said a cuss word, or I wouldn't, you're always questioning everything you do, and you're walking on eggshells at that. You want to do everything so perfect, but it's not even a good enough to be perfect, because you can't be perfect for them. They're going to pick at every little thing, no matter what you've done throughout the day. You could be the best person in the world, and they're still going to find something. And you feel like, oh, it's me. It's me. I always thought it was me. It was me. It was me. I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not, or I haven't, he always said I had an air about me. Like if we're out and about and people are looking at me, you have an air about you.
Like if I had to give someone advice, I would say get a support system.
Yes, you need that.
Because your mind can be confused if you only are around one person.
Yep.
There is, when you think of, if you are a Christian, you think of Christianity, it's like fellowship is so important. Why? Because if Satan can get you alone by yourself, he can start messing with your mind. And that narcissistic spirit is from Satan.
Oh, yeah. If I look like, one time I went down to the driver, dropped Noah off the bus, and I looked too far up and I saw the man's knees. And it bothered me to no end for 4 days until I confessed it to him.
I had a counselor tell me, he said, God gives us free will.
Yes.
So there is not even God controls us to the point of like what we're allowed to, he gives us free will. Yeah. What we're allowed to say, what we're allowed to eat, what we're allowed to do, within reason, as long as we're doing the right thing. It's not like I don't know. I just think that when control comes in, if you look at these satanic traits, it's control, manipulation, mind control, thinking you're crazy, gaslighting, all of it.
Yeah, I believe the support system, my church was a big support system after I left him. His family was a big support system. My mom and dad, if I didn't have my mom and dad, my divorce cost me $80,000 with all the stuff he was doing throughout it. And they bought me my house. If I didn't have any of those people in my life, my family, at one point, Scott came in my life. He helped. When I met Scott, I had so many triggers. My church said, you shouldn't be dating, you shouldn't be married until 5 years. Well, Scott was just read books to help me. He went to therapy with me. He came into my life at the right time, but at a wrong time. I really needed to stand on my own 2 feet and heal myself. He can't save me. I've got to save myself. And, I have to deal with all the issues in my life. No one can fix them for me. I've got to fix them. But it's through therapy and through my church and through my family and all the support. I think you need that support. And your friends, my gym family is so important to me too. They help me so much too. And, my family, I have, my daughter's here, and you do need a support system. Don't isolate yourself, and you just need a family support system and therapy. If you don't think you need therapy, then you need therapy. Like I said, I'm back into therapy. So I think my therapy stopped when I met Scott, and I should have been still in therapy and never married him. But that brought me to here, and it gave me the good opportunities through him. And now that I'm here, and I'm glad I'm here. I love it here, and I wouldn't change anything about it. I would never move back to Ohio. But you need a lot of therapy.
There's a stigma around therapy that people, I feel like, but now with social media, I feel like that is one good thing of social media, where now people are openly talking about this.
I was afraid I'd be judged. Like, ooh, that's just weird. What? Thinking, all the things he did. That's why I didn't really want to, people say, why didn't you leave? Or why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why would you let him do that? Well, it's a little easier to say that unless you're in it,
Yeah, and people don't understand. No. These people are master speakers and master manipulators. They understand everything from body language to how you are looking at it. They understand everything. They read people. If you look at narcissism in general, they read people. And people that can look and say, oh, it's just, you should just do this or do that. And it's not multiple, like there's so many different things that go into it.
Oh, yes.
If someone's not been through it, I don't think they can fully understand it.
They can't. And mine is some of the things he did was just so out there, weird. Like, it's just.
But is it though, Dawn? Like, I mean, is it weird? Because it's one of these things where it's like, how many other women may be living in the same exact situation, but they put it under wraps because these people wear masks.
Yes.
They don't show their true colors, their true face. They don't show that until they get you behind it's like you are their punching bag.
Oh, yeah.
And you're scared.
You're
scared
fearful.
of him.
Living in fear every day is the most worst thing you can live for. I mean, him just in the house, you just feel like, what is he going to say next? Or what is he going to do next? Or he's just got this look on his face constant, like, I'm just looking for something for you to say or do, or look at me wrong, or, just, and it doesn't matter. Anything sets him off. So you can be the best person in the world. It doesn't matter. You can't be anything good to them.
Also, because they wear this mask, sometimes I think there's a fear of like, if I step out and say something, people are going to think I'm crazy. Like I'm just nitpicking, or I'm the one that, because when people look at this situation, they look at that spouse or that person in the relationship, and they're like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for what you've been through, but I truly believe your story will impact many.
I hope it does. My lawyer always said he has these tiny little rooms in his head, all these little rooms in his head, and he just don't know what he is. So it's just, that's why I never wanted to share, because some of this stuff is so out there. Like, you can't make this shit up. But has anybody dealt with the same things I've dealt with? I'm wondering. That's what I would like to know. And I wanted to share my story because I think it's time. I'm strong enough now. I'm on my own 2 feet. I've never lived on my own. I've never had a job of my own, especially a business of this magnitude I have right now. I mean, I've always lived off alimony or child support. I've never lived. 56 years old. This is the time of my life I've first supported myself ever on my own 2 feet. So I feel pretty good about that. And I have my own place now.
Yeah.
And I have my own car. So I do feel really, I feel pretty good.
You are a success story.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm so proud to work with you and we have a shoot coming up. We're doing a transformation through trauma session. She's going to tell her story on multiple levels. And I'm so excited to see how it's all going to come together and pan out. But I'm very proud of you. Is there anything else that you want to say?
I'm here to open my heart and put my arms around people that gone through the same things I have, or any kind of trauma I've been through. You need other people that's been through it to talk to, because they understand a little bit better. So if anybody wants to hear my story more or more in depth, I'm here. You can contact me. If you're in this situation, you can contact me and we can help you get out a safe way. That's the most important part, getting out safely. And they have to want it. So, but I'm here. If anybody needs any help, you can do it. I've done it. And I'm on standing my own 2 feet.
That's so awesome. I'm so proud of you, girl. I'm so proud to know you, seriously. We do have a shoot coming up, so stay tuned for that. And then Dawn will also be in our book, Becoming Unbroken. So hopefully we can get that published by the end of the year. We're working really hard on these different aspects.
I'm so glad you're doing this. I'm proud of you for putting this out here. And it's a lot of work, and you're doing it, and it's going to be great and awesome. And it's going to hit so many platforms and so many levels, and it's just going to zoom out. So
I hope so. My heart is to help people and bring awareness to the things that people don't have a place to talk about these things really unless they share them on social media. But
yeah,
sometimes they need to be on a bigger platform, I feel like.
yeah. And it can, being on a bigger platform, you can reach more people. Not too many people know about my story, not even people in the gym. My one friend, Miriam, knows a little bit, but I usually don't share my story unless, you can ask me anything and I'll tell you anything. My life is an open book now. So I have no reason to be ashamed of anything I've done. And if people are going to judge me, then, it doesn't matter to me.
There was something that when I first started this project and I had some of my own trauma that I needed to expose. And it was like, I said, God, I don't know if I want to share this. And God, I felt God speak so clearly in my heart and say, is it worth it if you impact one?
Yes.
And I said, yeah, like my shame, my ridicule, that's what happened. He took our shame and the ridicule from our sins. And, so I'm like, yeah, it's worth it to me if I can impact one. And it's a journey. This whole project is, it's not the work. It's that I'm an empath. And so it's hard sometimes hearing people's pain and communicating that, like being a conduit for that. But this project, I feel like it's so needed. It's so needed. Like I hear stories like yours and I'm impacted and I know that it's going to make a difference. So I just appreciate you so much. I can't even tell you. I will let you go today. I'm going to put all your stuff in the show notes so that people know how to get in contact with you. And you're in Nashville, right? Love it. And she does a phenomenal job. I know on the cake. If you have a sugar fetish like myself, I love sugar.
I love sugar.
So
don't get it.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I appreciate it so much.
Anytime I'll talk.
Thank you for listening to Through the Trauma podcast. If you have found value in this episode or believe in the mission behind what we are doing, please subscribe so that you never miss any future episodes. Also, be sure to check out our transformation project at transformationthroughtraumaproject.com, where we help inspirational stories get heard on a larger scale through multiple platforms. If you know someone who can benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Until next time.